Good morning, Braywick Court School. It's Thursday the 2nd of July and it's me, Mrs Nash, with another science assembly. No birthdays to celebrate today at Braywick, so we're going to get straight on. So today I thought I'd do another science experiment and something that you can either do in class, perhaps later on this week or perhaps next week with your teacher, or if those of you that are still at home, you could do at home. And today's science experiment is called floating fruit. And I'm conducting this experiment in my lab at home, which is actually my kitchen. But I'm not doing a Mrs Jenkins baking video, no, that is not my forte. I'm going to be looking at which fruits float. And if we can change those fruits or alter those fruits to see whether or not it affects whether or not they float in water. Okay, so all you need for this is a large tub of water. I am using a see-through, a transparent tub, okay, just so that you can see it at home. But all you need at home really is you could do it in your kitchen sink or your washing up bowl or even the bath. So without further ado, let's go. Okay, so here I have got, with my container of water, 3 pieces of fruit for my fruit bowl. I've got a tomato, I have got a little satsuma, and I've got an apple. Okay, some of you might not know actually that a tomato is a fruit. The way that you can tell whether or not something is a fruit or a vegetable is because whether or not the seeds are on the inside or the outside. If it has seeds or pips on the inside, it's a fruit. And tomato seeds can be seen inside the tomato, so actually tomato is a fruit. Okay, got my satsuma here and my apple, like I said. So, for those of you that would like to take part in predicting whether or not these 3 fruits are going to float or whether they're going to sink, you might want to pause this video now and make a little prediction. So first of all, I'm going to put my apple in the water. Now, let me think about how an apple feels. It's not very heavy, but it's quite heavy. Now, I'm going to have a go about whether or not I think this is going to sink or float. Okay, I'm going to make some predictions and then in a minute Emmy's going to have a go as well, so you'll see her. So I'm going to predict that this apple is going to sink because it feels quite heavy. So let's have a go. Oh, it's floating. Okay, actually you might have predicted that correctly, because some of you on Halloween might have done what we call apple bobbing, where you have to collect apples from a bowl of water using only your teeth and your mouth, and your hands are tied behind your back. So apples, we can say, float in water. So if you predicted that correctly, brilliant. Now I'm going to predict whether my tomato is going to float or sink, and I'm going to go with float. Let's have a look. Yep, that's floating too, just about keeping on top of the water. Okay, and this time my satsuma. Now, the satsuma's got a different kind of skin to the apple and tomato. It's a bit rougher. So, I'm not sure on this one. I'm going to say it's going to float. Let's have a look. Yeah, that one floated really easily. Right, now I'm going to hand over to Emmy. Right, so Emmy, it's your turn now. Okay, so Emmy doesn't know what my predictions were. She was hiding in the lounge. So Emmy, I would like you to predict whether or not each one of those pieces of fruit is going to float or sink in the water. And actually, I'm probably going to ask you why you think that. Okay, so first of all, Emmy, what piece of fruit are you going to choose?
I'm going to choose a tomato.
You're going to choose the tomato. Did you know that tomato was a fruit, Emmy?
No.
Ah, there you go, you've learned something new. And if you watch the beginning of this video, you'll know why it's a fruit. So, Emmy, you're going to predict then, do you think the tomato is going to float or sink when you put it in the water?
I think it's going to sink.
Why, and why do you think that, Emmy?
Because it's not very heavy and it's quite light.
But what happens usually when something's quite light? Does it float or does it sink?
It floats.
So are you going to change your prediction, or are you going to stay with the fact that you think it's going to sink?
I think I'm gonna stay with it because it's like medium. It's not that heavy, but it's not that
Okay.
heavy.
Right, let's go then. Let's put it in the water and see what happens. Aha! It's floating. Why do you think that is, Emmy?
Because maybe it's heavier than I thought it was. No, lighter than I thought it was.
Okay, good idea. Right, which piece of fruit are you going to choose next?
This one.
What is it?
It is a orange.
Yeah, it's a little orange. It's a satsuma. Okay, do you think that is going to float or sink?
I think it's going to float.
Okay, have a go. Let's see. Yay, correct. Right, last one, Emmy. What have you got there?
An apple.
Okay, and do you think your apple's going to float or sink?
I think it's going to float.
Why do you think that?
Because it is quite light and it's not that heavy.
Okay, let's have a go. Yay, correct. Right, now, Emmy, we're going to make some changes to these fruit and then we're going to retest them and see what happens. Okay, so the changes I'm going to make to my fruit to see whether or not they're still going to sink or float is my orange I'm going to peel and my apple I'm going to peel. I'm going to see if that makes any changes. So, here we go. I'm going to quickly peel my apple. And if you remember, it floated last time. I remember we talked about apple bobbing. So I'm just going to quickly peel my apple. Actually, we can put that bird peel out for the birds, Emmy, they'll like it. Right, let's see what happens. Still floats. Okay, now I'm going to peel my satsuma. Now, I'm removing all the peel, which I think means that the orange on the satsuma is actually now going to be lighter than it was before. So, surely it's still going to float, right? Let's have a look. There we go. All the peel's off. So, now my orange is lighter because I've removed something from it. Let's see what happens. It's sunk. Now, in your groups, pause the video and have a little chat about why you think the orange has now sunk, even though I have taken the peel off and made it lighter. So, why do you think then that the orange has now sunk to the bottom of this bowl? Well, I'm going to tell you. The reason being is, let me just grab another one from the fruit bowl. The reason being is, the skin of an orange is actually mainly full of air. Okay, so that's actually keeping it floating like a life jacket or a buoyancy aid when you go, perhaps you've been to liquid leisure or in a canoe or even bodyboarding in the summer. The air inside the peel of the satsuma is actually what keeps it afloat, or that's one of the things that keeps it afloat. So it's like wearing a protective life jacket. The second reason is the peel that surrounds the orange stops any water getting into the orange. So it actually stops any of the segments. Let me have a look in here. It stops any of the segments of the orange absorbing any of the water. Because when we absorb water, or anything absorbs water, it actually makes it heavier. And therefore, it's going to sink. So, once the orange has had its life jacket removed, and it's able to absorb all the water and collect it, it actually gets heavier. Therefore, it sinks. Just to prove it, look. There we go. So, from finishing my experiment, I've got a couple of questions that I don't actually know the answer to. So, I think that's something we could look up together. Maybe on my next science video. One of the questions I have is, we've removed the skin from the apple, so we've taken away its life jacket, and therefore the apple must be absorbing some of the water in the bowl. So therefore it's going to be getting heavier. But why is it not sinking? That's a question for you. Okay, so perhaps we can look into that further. So I hope you've enjoyed my assembly. What I'd really like to see is last time when I did my daisy experiment, I got loads of really lovely emails and pictures of people collecting daisies and counting the leaves on daisies. And if you would like to try this experiment at home or in the classroom, then send me your results and we can draw some conclusions together. Okay everyone, have a fantastic day, and as always at Braywit Court, we will learn, enjoy, succeed!